When you think of motorcycles that surprise you, Europe is full of them. From Italian rockets to German tanks to British bruisers, these bikes don't just ride, they shock you with their performance, reliability, and soul. Many riders dismiss them as exotic toys, but the truth? These machines were built to last, built to win, and built to stand out in a sea of Japanese dominance. Today, we're diving into 15 European motorcycles that are shockingly good, some famous, some forgotten, but all unforgettable once you ride them. And trust me, a few of these names will catch you off guard. Commanding attention at number 15, KTM Duke 640. When KTM unleashed the Duke 640, the world didn't quite know what to make of it. Here was a naked bike, stripped to its bones, painted in KTM's trademark orange, and powered by a single-cylinder engine that didn't just thump, it punched. This wasn't about smooth, refined touring. This was about RAW, unfiltered hooligan energy. The Duke weighed just over 350 pounds, with torque that ripped through the mid-range and made every stoplight launch feel like a street fight. What made the Duke stand out was its attitude. While Japanese nakeds were polite and predictable, the KTM Duke 640 was loud, sharp, and unapologetic. It wheelied easily, cornered with aggression, and reminded you that motorcycles aren't supposed to be boring. Back in the late 90s, this bike wasn't cheap, starting around $7,000 new. But today, you can pick up clean examples for $3,000 to $4,000, and they're still some of the most fun per dollar you can buy. And KTM wasn't done. If the Duke 640 was the street hooligan, wait until you see what KTM built for riders who wanted to cross deserts and challenge Dakar. Hitting top gear at number 14, KTM 950 Adventure. The KTM 950 Adventure wasn't just another dual sport, it was a Dakar legend for the streets. KTM engineers built this machine with one purpose: to destroy the world's toughest terrains. With a V-twin engine cranking out nearly 100 horsepower, the 950 Adventure could blast down highways at over 130 miles per hour, then dive straight into dirt, sand, or gravel without skipping a beat. This was the bike that put KTM on the map as a true adventure powerhouse. Weighing just under 500 pounds, it was surprisingly agile for its size, and thanks to its Dakar DNA, it handled punishment like few others. Riders quickly discovered it could cross countries, climb mountains, and survive conditions that would leave other bikes broken and stranded. Back in 2003, a brand new 950 Adventure would set you back about $12,000. Today, you can find them in the $6,000 to $8,000 range, and many are still going strong with huge mileage. And here's the shocking part. Many ADV riders still prefer the raw mechanical feel of this bike over modern, electronics-loaded machines. But if you think KTM was the only European brand delivering this kind of madness, wait until you see what Italians were doing with pure speed and style. Full throttle at number 13, Laverda Jota 1000. If you wanted to ride the fastest production motorcycle in the late 70s, you didn't go to Japan, you went to Italy. The Laverda Jota 1000 was not just a motorcycle, it was a statement. With its 3-cylinder engine roaring to life, this bike was clocked at speeds pushing 140 miles per hour, numbers that left rivals gasping. Riders back then described the Jota as brutal, a machine that demanded respect but rewarded with adrenaline no other bike could match. Weighing over 500 pounds, the Jota wasn't the easiest to tame. But once you got it rolling, that mechanical howl from the triple-cylinder engine became intoxicating. It wasn't just about speed, it was about presence. The bike looked muscular, felt heavy, and reminded you with every vibration that you were straddling raw Italian engineering. Back in the 70s, a Jota would cost you nearly $4,000 new, a fortune at the time. Today, collectors will pay $20,000 to $30,000 for pristine examples, making it a true motorcycling icon. If you're still here, would you be so kind as to help us like this video and subscribe to our channel? You'll never regret it. More videos are coming your way. Thank you. So back to it. But while the Jota was dominating highways, up north in Sweden, another kind of madness was brewing. One that traded top speed for absolute chaos on city streets. Revved up and ready at number 12, Husqvarna 610 Supermoto. If the Laverda Jota was an Italian stallion, the Husqvarna 610 Supermoto was a Scandinavian street brawler. Imagine stuffing a high-performance dirt bike engine into a lightweight frame, slapping on sticky road tires, and daring riders to behave. That's the 610. And this wasn't built for calm commuting. It was built to slide through corners, wheelie past traffic, and embarrass sport bikes in tight city streets. Back in the 90s, a brand new 610 Supermoto would cost around $7,000. Today, you can still find running examples between $3,000 and $5,000, though many have been thrashed within an inch of their lives by owners who treated them like toys. And while Husqvarna gave us the ultimate street hooligan, another European brand was quietly crafting some of the best sport tourers ever built. Bikes that could eat miles all day without breaking a sweat. Hammering down at number 11, Aprilia RSV Mille. When Aprilia decided to enter the big league superbike wars, the world thought it would just be another Italian side note. Then came the RSV Mille. This wasn't just a bike. This was Aprilia taking a swing at Ducati and hitting hard. At its heart sat a 1,000cc Rotax V-twin, pumping out around 130 horsepower. The sound, a deep, thunderous roar that could rattle shop windows. The ride, surprisingly friendly compared to its red-clad rival. The RSV Mille gave you stability, comfort, and speed, all wrapped in sharp Italian styling. Back in the late 90s, a brand new RSV Mille would set you back about $11,000. Today, you can still find solid examples between $4,000 and $7,000. That's shocking value for a machine that once traded punches with Ducati on the racetrack. But while Aprilia proved it could hang with the big boys, another Italian brand was quietly preparing to deliver not just a motorcycle, but a masterpiece of design that would go down as one of the most beautiful machines ever built. Unstoppable at number 10. MV Agusta F4 150. Some bikes are fast, some are reliable, and then a few are pure art. The MV Agusta F4 150, designed by the legendary Massimo Tamburini, was exactly that. When it rolled out in 1999, jaws dropped worldwide. This wasn't just a superbike, it was a sculpture on wheels. The design was flawless. The sharp fairings, the signature four-piped under-seat exhaust, the aggressive stance. Even standing still, the F4 looked like it was moving at 100 miles per hour. And when you fired it up, that inline four screamed, delivering 112 horsepower and revving with a ferocity that few bikes could match. The price reflected that. Brand new, the F4 750 cost nearly $20,000, expensive for its time. Today, collectors happily pay $10,000 to $15,000 for neatly used ones, and special editions climb even higher. And while MV Agusta showed the world that design could be just as important as performance, another European brand was cooking up something entirely different. A machine that valued endurance and long-distance domination over beauty and flair. Tearing through at number 9. Norton Commando 850. Few motorcycles carry the same aura of respect as the Norton Commando 850. Born in the late 60s and refined through the 70s, this machine quickly became the face of British motorcycling. Even today, nearly 50 years later, it remains one of the most desirable classic bikes you can own. At its heart was an air-cooled parallel twin, delivering roughly 60 horsepower. That might sound tame compared to modern figures, but back then, the Commando was a rocket. The legendary ice-elastic frame system, which separated the engine vibrations from the rider, made long-distance cruising far more comfortable than earlier British twins. And that engine note, a deep, throaty growl, was pure motorcycle music. Reliability? Here's the shocker. Many Commandos are still running strong today with only modest upkeep. Enthusiasts constantly praise their durability, and with proper care, this bike will happily carry you across states, just like it did decades ago. Price-wise, a brand new Commando in the 70s cost around $2,000. Today, depending on condition, you're looking at anywhere between $8,000 and $15,000. And for a machine with this level of history and soul, that's a price many gladly pay. But while the Commando represented the peak of twin-cylinder British engineering, another motorcycle from the UK relied on just one cylinder, and it became a legend in its own right. Charging up to number 8, BSA Gold Star DBD 34. When riders talk about pure motorcycling, the BSA Gold Star DBD 34 almost always enters the conversation. This single-cylinder masterpiece wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a badge of honor. If you owned one, people knew you had style, speed, and a taste for something truly special. The Gold Star packed a 500cc single-cylinder engine, producing around 40 horsepower. That might not sound like much today, But in the 50s and 60s, this thing was a fire breather. It dominated club racing, earned a fierce reputation at the Isle of Man, and became the bike to beat on twisty British backroads. What really made it stand out was its character. The thump of that single cylinder, the vibration through the bars, the raw mechanical feel. It was motorcycling in its purest form. No fancy electronics, no plastic fairings, just metal, oil, and fire. Back in its prime, the Gold Star sold for around $1,000. Today, collectors will spend anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 for a clean example. And for good reason. It's more than a motorcycle. It's a piece of history. And while the Gold Star stood as a single-cylinder icon of its ERA, another European manufacturer would soon take a completely different route, focusing on multi-cylinder speed and high-tech innovation. Number 7. Triumph Speed Triple T509. In the mid-90s, motorcycles were split between sport bikes and cruisers. But then Triumph came out swinging with something radical, the Speed Triple T509. It was raw, it was stripped down, and it was unlike anything riders had seen before. This wasn't a sport bike, and it wasn't a cruiser. This was the birth of the Street Fighter. At its core was a 900cc three-cylinder engine pumping out around 108 horsepower. That meant torque for days, an engine note that howled like nothing else on the road, and power delivery that felt alive every time you twisted the throttle. Riders loved how it felt brutal but refined, just enough to make every ride thrilling without being unmanageable. Stylistically, the Speed Triple was bold. Those dual bug-eye headlights became iconic, instantly setting it apart. No fairings, no plastic, just a muscular frame, chunky tires, and attitude. Triumph didn't just build a motorcycle, they created an identity. Riders who wanted to break away from the crowd instantly gravitated toward this machine. But the real shocker? Reliability. While many bikes of that era struggled with electrical quirks or finicky maintenance, the Speed Triple proved rock solid. Many examples from the late 90s are still running strong today, with engines that can easily rack up well over 50,000 miles without a rebuild. When new, the Speed Triple cost around $9,000. Today, you can find clean models between $4,000 and $6,000, which is shocking given its icon status. That means you can own a piece of motorcycle history without breaking the bank. And while the Speed Triple was all about rebellion and raw power, Triumph also offered something completely different in the same era. A bike that reached back to its roots and brought classic charm roaring back to life. At number 6, Triumph Bonneville T100. If the Speed Triple was the rebel, then the Triumph Bonneville T100 was the gentleman. Launched in 2001, this bike paid homage to the original Bonneville of the 60s, yet carried all the reliability and performance of a modern machine. It was Triumph's way of saying, class never dies. The Bonneville T100 featured an 800cc parallel twin that delivered smooth linear power. With around 60 horsepower, it wasn't about raw speed, it was about character. The engine gave off a warm, throaty rumble, reminding riders of simpler times while still offering the confidence of modern engineering. Unlike old British twins that leaked oil and rattled themselves apart, the T100 ran clean, quiet, and dependable. Design-wise, Triumph nailed it. The round headlight, spoked wheels, teardrop tank, and straight lines looked straight out of the 60s. But underneath the charm sat disc brakes, electric start, and a chassis that actually handled. Riders got the best of both worlds, timeless style and modern comfort. What's more impressive is how durable these bikes are. Owners often boast about crossing 100,000 miles with little more than routine maintenance. It is a motorcycle you can ride every day and still show up at a vintage meet where people mistake it for a classic. That's the magic. Back in 2001, the Bonneville T100 sold for around $7,000. Today, depending on year and condition, you'll find them between $4,000 and $8,000. Given its timeless appeal, that is a bargain for a machine that blends heritage and modern engineering. And while the Bonneville was about style and soul, Europe also had bikes in the same era that were about pushing the limits of performance and innovation. Machines that stun the world with speed and precision. Roaring into number 5, BMW K1200 RS. In the late 90s, when sport bikes were all about sharp edges and lightweight aggression, BMW rolled out something different, the K1200 RS. This was not a track-bred missile. This was a high-speed, long-distance weapon designed to cruise autobahns all day at 140 miles per hour and never break a sweat. Riders quickly learned that BMW had created a sport tourer unlike anything else at the time. The heart of the K1200 RS was a liquid-cooled inline-4 producing around 130 horsepower. It wasn't the most powerful of its era, but it was silky, refined, and delivered torque everywhere in the rev range. That meant you could rock it from city traffic to Autobahn speed with just a twist of the wrist. And unlike twitchy sport bikes, the K1200 RS was built for stability. At nearly 600 pounds wet, it was heavy, but BMW's engineering made it feel planted, like it was glued to the road. Riders love the comfort, a big fairing, plush saddle, and ergonomics that let you cover 500 miles in a single day without feeling broken. Reliability? Legendary. Owners report putting over 100,000 miles with nothing more than scheduled maintenance. Back in the late 90s, the K1 sold for around $13,000. Today, used examples often range between $3,000 and $5,000, a stunning value for a bike that still outclasses many modern sport tourers in refinement and long-haul comfort. Sliding into number 4. BMW R1200 GS. If there is one motorcycle that defines the word adventure, it is the BMW R1200 GS. Born in the early 2000s, this was the machine that turned long-distance motorcycling into an epic global movement. Riders didn't just buy it for commuting, they bought it to cross continents. At its core sat BMW's air and oil-cooled Boxer twin, producing around 100 horsepower with a fat wave of torque. On paper, that doesn't sound earth-shattering, but on the road, and more importantly, off the road, it was pure magic. The power delivery was smooth, controllable, and seemingly endless. Whether you were climbing a rocky trail or blasting down the highway at 100 miles per hour, the GS just kept going. The GS weighed in around 550 pounds, but thanks to BMW's telelever front suspension and clever weight distribution, it felt balanced, almost nimble, even in dirt. Riders were blown away by how something so big could feel so light once it started moving. And the comfort? Legendary. Wide seat, upright riding position, big windscreen. This was a bike you could ride from Berlin to Beijing without breaking stride. Reliability sealed its reputation. Many GS owners boast of racking up well over 150,000 miles with nothing but regular servicing. That is shockingly good for an adventure bike that often lives in harsh conditions. Back when it launched in 2004, the R1200 GS cost around $14,000. Today, depending on mileage and condition, you'll see them between $5,000 and $8,000. Not cheap, but worth every penny for a bike that could literally take you around the world. And now, we're into the top 3. Which machines do you think will make it here? Let us know in the comments. While you're at it, don't forget to like this video and support us by subscribing to our channel. You'll love it. So let's jump into the legends among legends. Powering through at number 3, Moto Guzzi, Le Mans 850, the Moto. Guzzi Le Mans 850 is more than a motorcycle. It is a symbol of Italian passion poured into 2 wheels. Born in the mid-70s, this machine carried an air of seriousness. No flashy gimmicks, no unnecessary frills. Just a big torquey V-twin, a long low stance, and a rumble that made even Ducatis turn their heads. Riders in its era called it a true endurance legend because it wasn't built to sprint, it was built to last. The transverse V-twin engine delivered about 70 to 80 horsepower, and while that may not sound like much today, back then it meant you could comfortably cruise at high speed for hours without stressing the motor. Its shaft drive made it low maintenance, and its durability made it a favorite for riders who wanted thousands of miles without failure. Even today, well-maintained LE Mans models regularly cross 100,000 miles without major rebuilds. That is shocking longevity for a bike designed in the 70s. The styling is pure 70s. Italian flair, angular fairing, bold colors, and a stance that screams cafe racer and tourer at the same time. Many enthusiasts say the LE-MANS is the soul of Moto Guzzi, and when you see one parked in the sun, you instantly understand why. Prices today? Expect to pay around $10,000 to $15,000 for a clean Survivor. That's not cheap, but compared to what you're getting, a legend with soul, history, and endurance, it feels like a bargain. And with values creeping upward, it is also a surprisingly safe investment. But while the Le Mans may embody endurance and timeless charisma, another European machine of the same era would change the entire idea of adventure itself, giving birth to a new kind of motorcycle culture. Coming at number 2, BMW R80G and R80S. When BMW launched the R80G and the S, few people realized it would redefine motorcycling forever. This bike wasn't just a model, it was the origin story of adventure riding. Before the R80G and the S, motorcycles were either road bikes or dirt bikes. BMW fused the two, creating the first machine that could do both with confidence. At its heart was an air-cooled boxer twin making around 50 horsepower. On paper, not a rocket ship. But the magic was in its balance and versatility. It had long-travel suspension, a lightweight chassis for its class, and BMW's legendary reliability. Riders discovered they could cross countries, deserts, even continents without worrying about breakdowns. This wasn't marketing hype, it was real-world tested. The bike dominated the Paris-Dakar rally, proving that the idea of a big dual sport wasn't just a dream. Owners today still rave about its simplicity. No electronics, no complexity, just a sturdy airhead engine, shaft drive, and rugged suspension. It is the kind of bike you can fix with basic tools on the side of a dirt trail. And that's why many say it is the true father of adventure bikes. Without it, the modern GS series wouldn't exist. Prices have skyrocketed. Once you could buy a used one for under $3,000, now clean examples fetch $15,000 to $20,000, sometimes more. Collectors know they are holding on to a piece of history. And yet, as much as the R80G and the S changed the ADV world, there were other European bikes that were rewriting rules in their own categories, blending performance in ways Japan and America couldn't quite capture. And that brings up to our number one, the grand finale, number one, Ducati 916. Few motorcycles in history have ever stopped the world in its tracks the way the Ducati 916 did when it was unveiled in the mid-90s. Designed by the legendary Massimo Tamburini, this wasn't just a sport bike, it was a masterpiece of engineering and art. From its underseat exhausts to its razor-sharp fairing lines, the 916 looked like it was sculpted, not manufactured. Even today, more than 2 decades later, many still call it the most beautiful motorcycle ever built. But it wasn't just about looks. Underneath that seductive skin lived a 𝐏𝐄𝐑 V-twin that produced around 110 horsepower. That might not sound earth-shattering by modern superbike standards, but in the mid-90s, it was enough to make this machine an absolute weapon on the track. The torque-rich delivery, combined with its relatively lightweight chassis, meant it could catapult riders out of corners with an intensity the Japanese inline fours struggled to match. What truly set the 916 apart, though, was its chassis. Ducati employed a trellis frame that was stiff yet perfectly balanced, giving riders the sense that the bike was almost telepathic in its handling. Add in the single-sided swing arm, the distinctive exhaust note, and its dominance in world superbike racing, and you had a package that wasn't just admired, it was worshipped. Riders loved it, collectors crave it, and historians agree that the 916 is one of the greatest motorcycles of all time. It blended beauty and speed in perfect harmony, a balance that very few machines have ever achieved. Today, owning one means opening your wallet wide. Prices for clean examples typically start around $25,000 and can easily climb to $40,000 or more for pristine, low-mileage bikes. And honestly, many owners will tell you it is worth every cent. You're not just buying a motorcycle, you're buying MotoGP DNA, design history, and a piece of motorcycling legend. And there you have it, 15 European motorcycles that prove just how much passion, art, and engineering excellence these brands have poured into their machines. From the Dakar-bred adventurers to the iconic Italian supercars. On 2 wheels, these bikes are more than transport. They are legends that last forever. Now, I want to hear from you. Which one of these European beasts would you park in your garage if money was no object? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride, and subscribe so you don't miss the next list of motorcycles that truly matter.